I can't spray!
When you think of Disney's TV animation, there's a lot to love. Shows like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles carried the channel in the 80s and 90s. Kim Possible and Phineas and Ferb stood out in the 2000s. And Gravity Falls redefined and inspired so many cartoons going forward in the 2010s. So it makes sense that one of these cartoons that it inspired ended up being one of the most talked about Disney Channel cartoons since Gravity Falls ended in 2016. That show is Matt Brawley's Amphibia.
I think I'm the show's main character.
What?
Yeah, I'm the normal frog boy who saves the human monster, and then I take care of her.
Yeah, I don't think that's right, Sprig.
Are you sure?
Sprig, it's a fish out of water story. I'm the fish.
Fish? Now you're just not making sense.
Matt Brawley originally had the idea for Amphibia way back in 2015 when he was working on Gravity Falls, coming up with prototype designs for the characters. He then spent the next few years working on the series before eventually getting the project greenlit by Disney in 2018, with an order of 20 episodes for its first season. And then another set of 20 episodes were ordered before the first season even started airing. This in of itself is an accomplishment, and Matt should be proud that he got his project off the ground with such confidence straight away. Getting shows past their concept in general is something only a lucky few can achieve. A lot of great ideas for shows will never be made in favour for schlock that the executives think will get more viewers.
So if it somehow a successful hit show slips through, it's because people weren't paying attention at the network or the studio, or they were broke and they couldn't replace it, or something happened that went wrong.
So it's fortunate for Matt that someone thought his show had a lot of potential, but does the show live up to said potential? Well, let's find out later, because we have to talk about the pitch pilot first. But hey, before we can do that, why not hit the subscribe button so that you don't end up getting transported into a froggy world, eh? Yeah, you don't want to leave the comfort of your home. They don't have warm baths over there. Okay, so I'd just like to let you guys know that this is actually a two-part series. This time we'll be focusing on Amphibia, but next time monotiller will take the reins to focus on the Owl House, kind of a sister show to this one, both being Disney's most popular shows in this day and age. We just thought we'd like to talk about both, as both have a lot of interesting similarities, but a lot of differences too that are worth talking about, and both great shows in their own regard. Anyway, on to the video. Go on, hit it. The pitch pilot only runs a minute and a half, but in that time it's interesting to point out all the changes from the pilot to the final product. The story is about a girl called Ann Boon Choi, a Thai-American girl lost in Amphibia. Oh, sorry, I mean Amphibiland. Anyway, she writes a letter talking about how she is adjusting to her life in Amphibiland, a world dominated by, you guessed it, amphibians, as the name would suggest. She's also looking for her two friends who are lost in Amphibiland. It then shows off a montage of cool looking scenarios that the characters find themselves in, before wrapping up with a really well animated sequence of a bird carrying the two characters to their next adventure. The song playing during the montage is Rather Be, which is an interesting choice, but it's really cool to hear that violin played to the various set pieces. The pilot is decent, but not something I would have been immediately interested in wanting to see more based off what was shown. The setup is extremely generic. Main character is sent to another world is a big genre in anime. It's known as isekai, and not one I'm too huge on. There's just something about the isekai genre I find off-putting. I feel like most of them have really bad world building and weak characters. As someone being transported to another world is the selling point of the show, they don't have to try hard in the other areas. What makes it worse is that Amphibiland is a kids show, and if I don't enjoy the isekai shows made for older audiences, then what am I getting from a dumb kid show about frogs? So the original pitch doesn't quite land for me, and what makes it worse is that title, Amphibiland. It just doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Amphibia did. Dare I say Amphibiland sounds like a name someone would make up on the spot for this show? Like, quick, we need a title for the show about a world about frogs. Disney won't let us call it Frogland. Got any ideas? Amphibiland? Perfect, good job. We defeated Disney, the titans of the industry. And then everyone went home from the office that day and went to the bed on top of a large pile of money. Sorry, my mind wandered there. Where was I? Oh yes, the pilot. I also don't care for the art in general. It's quite rough around the edges compared to the more refined style of the show. When Sasha and Marcy were shown in the picture, I spit out my drink because I couldn't believe how awful they looked. And I really don't gel with Sprig's beta design over here. My man looks like an idiot, which to be fair he is, but he's not as visually appealing here. He's just kind of a round pink bastard makes him stand out less against the other frogs, in my opinion. Characters like Anne, Hot Pop and Grime look pretty close to their final design, and it's cool seeing how many characters were thought out before season 1 even aired. The backgrounds here though, I'm also really happy they improved on in the final product. In fact, the entire colour palette is super off-putting. I don't know how anyone thought it looked good. Like, I get it, frogs are slimy and gross, but did we need the scenes having this ugly green and yellow combo going on here? Like, someone fucking threw up on the screen and called it a day or something. It doesn't feel fantastical, it feels like I'm going to the bathroom. The writing does reflect the final product in terms of the humour that would make up the majority of Amphibia, and a lot of the scenes used in the montage here made it into the intro of the show itself, which is really cool. Anne Boonchoi was chosen to be Thai American, as not only is Matt Brawley Thai himself, he wanted more representation for Thai people in TV shows.
And my mother is also from Thailand, so it was so important to me for this show that Anne be Thai.
Anne is voiced by Brenda Song, previously of Zack and Cody fame, and she gives a good performance here, and later on in the final product as well. And Bill Farmer, which is my personal favourite performance, plays Hot Pop, and Grime also plays a very famous Disney character. You might just know him, just a little known guy by the name of, oh, I don't know, Donald Duck. In conclusion, while the pitch pilot has many interesting ideas, overall comes off as a mediocre watch. Again, I could see why kids would like it. Funny frogs do silly antics, ha ha ha, but I just don't know if there's anything that implies that adults can enjoy it too, or even if it really represents the final show all that great. Matt has stated the shows like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe were going to inspire the show's structure of mostly one-off episodes broken up by plot-centric episodes thrown in now and again. He also said the story arc of the show was inspired by gargoyles. With all this set up on the table, did the show end up being as good as the shows mentioned? Well, from what I've seen, Steven Universe is garbage, but can it stand up to the other shows that were mentioned? Let's find out with season 1.
And you know what I want?
The lake!
Yep. Now let's go rob an old man!
Ugh.
Yeah, that didn't sound as cool as I wanted it to.
Airing in 2019, Amphibia finally launched its first season to a lot of positivity from the animation community, getting praise for its characters, humour, and the slow overarching story that was building throughout the season. Season 1 of Amphibia is a good season of television. I might even say it's a great season of television depending on what day you catch me on, but there are a few things that hold the season back from true greatness. This season follows the same setup as the pitch pilot. Anne Boonchoi and her two friends are sent to Amphibia after opening a magic box. Now separated, Anne befriends the Planters, a family of frogs who let her stay with them. The overarching story is set up from the beginning with some interesting questions such as the origin of the magic box and where are Anne's two friends. But season 1 is only really interested in answering some of those questions, and this is where the biggest criticism of season 1 of Amphibia rears its head. Amphibia is a comedy first, and that means there's a lot more one-off comedy episodes than there are story-driven episodes that progress the plot. Season 1 has 20 episodes, and the plot only really shows up in the pilot, episode 10, and the finale. So people interested in that story are going to be frustrated by the interesting premise, only to be bombarded with the third filler episode in a row where Hot Pop gets his colon checked for shitting and farting.
Did something crawl under the house and die?
It didn't die!
It also pretty much exclusively takes place in the town of Wartwood, which means you'll be seeing a lot of the same locations over and over. Honestly, it's a valid criticism, just not one I care too much for. I watch too many shows structured similarly to Amphibia, such as Gravity Falls and Deep Space Nine. Both shows had an overarching story, but had one-off episodes to fill the time. I don't care about episodes that don't progress the plot, as long as they fill other purposes like build character, world building, or is just very entertaining.
I'm sure he's fine.
I will never understand the mindset of someone being bothered by a very entertaining episode of a show that doesn't progress the plot. The Fly episode of Breaking Bad was amazing. Shut the hell up, you clowns.
He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator. His house looked like shit.
So if you're a fan of the show, you'll be happy to know that Amphibia's structure didn't bother me all that much. It's my least favourite season of the show, since season 2 and 3 do a much better job of progressing the plot and having great one-off episodes, but I'll just take season 1 for what it is. A very charming, very funny series that wins you over with its great characters. Okay, firstly, I have to give the highest of praise to the intro sequence. It's animated incredibly well and the song is a really catchy tune. When I first watched it, I saw the Gravity Falls influence. It's structured very similarly and the song sounds quite familiar with the whistling blending with the song itself. This is one of the best opening sequences to a kids cartoon I've seen in a while, so well done, Doug. Whilst we're talking about the animation, the actual show's animation is decent enough. You know, the usual TV quality animation, but the character designs and colour palettes are a huge step up from the pitch pilot. I don't know how to describe it, but all the characters just look very distinct, like all their designs reflect the characters' personalities so well to me. Anne Boon Choi is out of her element, so of course she looks a bit messy. Hot Pop is an old fart that likes to lecture the youth about hard work, so obviously he looks the part. Mayor Toadstool is obsessed with his own image to secure votes, and just look at him. Man takes care of his own image for sure. And as for the colours, they're a lot more vibrant than the drizzling shits that was the pitch pilot. So overall, the show is very easy on the eyes, and I personally have a big soft spot for the art style, but none of that means anything if the characters and writing aren't good. I mean, this is a show, not a frickin' art museum. Get out of here! Get out of my house! So yeah, the characters are fantastic. Anne Boon Choi is such a refreshingly good protagonist for this kind of story. Usually characters placed in this kind of situation are either like, ooh, this is amazing, and they gawk open-jawed about the world that they have been transported in, or are like, ooh, I'm scared, please help me. I've just seen a lot of both of these types of characters, so Anne Boon Choi's more down-to-earth attitude is a nice change of pace. If she thinks something is cool about the world, she'll compliment it or want to take part in it. If she thinks something is bad or annoying, she'll call it out as such. She's more realistic, she's not too overbearing about it. She acts like a teenage girl, and I think that's great. Compared to their sister show, The Owl House, I find Luz in season 1 a lot more obnoxious. She fangirls about every little thing and has cringe dialogue about how she likes to edit AMVs.
I like editing anime clips to music.
Anne, on the other hand, is funny because of how much better she thinks Earth is to Amphibia, and introduces the planters to stuff like human food and movies. It's a lot more fun to watch in my honest opinion. She also develops as the season goes on. She starts off doing somewhat selfish acts like convincing Sprig to leave the house, or try to control the Frog of the Year ceremony at the cost of the town. But it's in this episode she learns that people have come to accept her for who she is, and Anne becomes a much better person for it. Speaking of the planters, let's talk about them. The first character Anne befriends is Sprig Planter. Sprig is the young child character that is a lot more interested in having fun than anything else. I like Sprig. He's an endearing character and his relationship with Anne is wholesome to watch. Polly is the youngest of the planters and honestly she's probably my least favourite of the main cast. She's not bad by any means. I just think the baby character that says unexpectedly violent or mean things has been done to death at this point.
Hi, I'm the baby, brand new, just out. Gotta love me, come on, gotta love me.
Still, she is cute and she has her moments. Finally, there's Hot Pop, and Hot Pop, well, he's the best damn character on the show.
I have returned.
He's just funny, and I love watching his interactions with Anne, at first not being too fond of her and conflicting with her a lot, but eventually seeing her as a member of the family. Anyone would be lucky to have a granddad like Hop Hop. Genuinely, he's such a king. I also like a bunch of the side characters. Mayor Toadstool is a great early foil for the main characters, One-Eyed Wally is hilarious, and Loggle's stupid speech impediment joke got way too hard a laugh out of me.
So can you fix it?
As a matter of fact, I can not.
Huh.
The last two characters to go into are Sasha, one of Anne's friends that got transported here, and the main antagonist of season 1, Captain Grime. Sasha is Anne's best friend, but also uses that friendship to manipulate Anne. She continuously convinced Anne to do what she wanted because Sasha loves having control, and when she is paired up with Captain Grime of Toad Tower, a tyrant that rules over the valley, they decide to work together to rule over the valley as a power team. They make for effective antagonists of season 1 despite only being in like 3 or 4 episodes, one of which Sasha doesn't even have any dialogue dialogue in. As good as they are in season 1, they become a lot more interesting as the show goes on. Now, let's talk about the episodes that make up the season. As mentioned, Amphibia is a comedy, and in my opinion it's a very funny one at that. So my favourite episodes in the show that aren't plot focused tend to be the ones that make me laugh the most. So just for you, the viewer, I'm going to highlight 10 great episodes this season that stood out to me the most. Ant vs. Wild introduces Soggy Joe, who is one of the funniest side characters in the series, and boosts the episode up for me.
These buggers.
Contagion is among the funniest episodes of the season as well, in my opinion.
Keep your pants on, boy.
I love seeing the planters get worse and worse and them accepting their apparent deaths at the end. Lily Pad Thai is a good one. I enjoy the Thai restaurant Anne comes up with, as well as the critic that's voiced by that one alien from Lilo and Stitch,
If you knew it was me, you'd probably zhuzh it up a bit.
which I heard straight away. Prison Break introduces the dynamic between Grime and Sasha that will be built upon in future episodes. Plus it's great focusing on different characters and setting for a change. Hot Popular is about Hot Pop running against Mayor Toadstool in the election, and it's as fun as it sounds.
I'm suddenly very interested in politics.
Okay, Anne, that's enough.
Snow Day has some nice visuals. I also love a good snow setting, and Sleepy Sprig is a ton of fun.
Got it.
A Night at the Inn is fun because it's a creepy episode that focuses on cannibals and then Anne murders them.
Finally, a chance to use everything I know about chemistry.
Wally and Anne focuses on one of my favourite side characters, and it's one of the few lessons for kids I actually don't find kind of forced.
And the way I see it, you've got a great opportunity in front of you. Whole new world, new people, free to be whatever you want.
That's kinda genius, Wally.
Bizarre Bazaar is my second favourite episode of the season. I love the visuals, it looks like something I was spirited away, and I appreciate the Mario Kart reference.
Tongue him? I hardly know him.
Children of Spore is a really cool episode where Hot Pop does no wrong and rightfully chooses to mind control the kids, and then it becomes a horror episode. Reunion is a great finale to the season. Anne reunites with Sasha, but conflict arises when she finds out Sasha wants to help the Toads rule over the valley and kill Hot Pop. Anne standing up to Sasha was great, as was their fight. I hear people find the Lean On Me part silly because of how overplayed that song is, but I thought it was pretty good, and Anne crying now that she's lost a friend is genuinely sad. Overall, the best episode of season 1, and sets up great things for the next 2 seasons.
Well, whatever happens next, one thing's for sure. If we're together, I know we'll be all right.
Hugging it a little tight there, Anne.
No, I'm not.
There's very few bad episodes in the show. I don't exactly love the pilot, it does a good job of setting things up, but doesn't really have any standout jokes that I can really think of.
Another day, another mob.
It does have Anne foreshadowing though, which is pretty cool to see. I think the domino effect is kind of boring. Anne is super unlikable in the episode Girl Time for trying to change Polly. Both Sylvia episodes are nothing episodes because Sylvia is a nothing character. Can't wait to trigger all 2 Sylvia stans with that burning hot take.
You're a dick, Mr. Turnabout.
When you watch season 1, you can see the people of Wartwood at the beginning resent Anne, but eventually they come to like her as the show goes on, which sums up season 1 pretty well. It's all about character and comedy first before anything else, and if that isn't your thing, your enjoyment for season 1 might be hindered by its structure, but for me, I think it's a really good season of TV. It's held up by its charm and humour, and let's hope season 2 is even better.
I love it in Amphibia, so much adventure still to see. Hope nothing bad ever happens to me.
Season 2 is such an improvement over Season 1 that I can easily call it one of my favourite seasons of a cartoon ever. Just about everything is better. The characters and their struggles are much more compelling this time around, the humour is even better than it was before, and the world building has a chance to improve, showing off numerous new locations outside of Wartwood, including the beautiful city of Newtopia, which is my favourite location in the entire series. The city feels like a mix of a bunch of different cultures, and it really makes it a fun place to set a number of wacky hijinks in. After the fallout of Reunion, Sasha Sasha and Anne's friendship has been fractured. Anne and the Planters head to Newtopia to discover the secrets of the Calamity Box, and Anne hopes that they will reunite with their friend Marcy along the way. The quality improvement of this season is held by the fact that most of the episodes actually contribute to the ongoing narrative, in a way being an inverse of how season 1 was structured. But even the one-off filler episodes are a lot more fun and less generic.
Dude, I told you not to help them rob a bank!
Sure, similar tropes may show up, but they're a lot more experimental this season, and Anne and the Planters aren't always learning a stupid lesson so that kids can learn a moral lesson too. Instead, the lessons they learn are actually integrated into the plot, such as Hop Pop having to come to terms with the way he lied to Anne for so long, and the fallout of that interaction in the very next episode.
Boy, am I glad Anne forgave you. Some people would carry the scars of that betrayal for life. Not you two, though.
What's incredible about this season is the overall pacing of it. The season is always on the move. We spend one episode preparing for the journey to Newtopia, then we spend a few episodes journeying to Newtopia, then a bunch in the middle episodes are set in Newtopia where we meet major characters like Marcy and King Andreas, before having to set off back again to Warwood. Speaking of, these two are great additions to the cast. Marcy is a character I usually wouldn't be huge on if she was the protagonist, but she fits the role she has in the show as an important side character very well. A good chunk of season 2 is spent exploring her and Anne's relationship, and these are great episodes. She's just likeable.
They did the thing. This is a good book. Pick it up if you like Amphibia. I do. That's why I bought the book.
And after seeing Sasha trying to kill Hop Pop last season, it's nice to see a more endearing character join the cast and help our main characters learn about the entirely foreign culture that is Newtopia, which she was lucky enough to wake up in. King Andreas is a great character too. He's introduced as a kind and caring king, and the way he plays off Marcy is adorable, but what's really interesting about him is the moments you get where you can clearly see Andreas acting strange in one way or another, setting up future events in the season that I will come back to later. He is also voiced by Keith David, who is one of my favourite voice actors of all time, so that's a plus. Sasha and Grime also get a lot more character exploration this season. After the finale of season 1, Sasha is doubting herself as a friend but doubles down in her alliance with Grime, this time turning their attention to Newtopia, deciding ruling over a valley isn't enough. They now want to take over the entirety of Amphibia, which is an interesting setup that will pay off as the show goes on. I just love these two a lot. Their friendship is great to watch, and Grime showing off a softer side that he actually has come to care about Sasha, while also being a strong leader, makes for some of the most compelling moments in the season. As the season goes on, we get great new additions to the lore. The Calamity Box, which was initially introduced in the first season as to why Anne Fortnite dropped down here in the first place, is now explored as to how it works. It turns out the reason the box hasn't sent Anne back to the human world is because the gems on the box weren't charged, and they will need to go to 3 different temples in order to charge each one. These temples do a great job in fleshing out the world of Amphibia. There's one that's a series of puzzles, another one that's more of a spiritual journey, and the final one which is a fight against a Zelda boss. Honestly, that last one is definitely the weakest, but it's more used to set up Sasha coming back into the story. Oh yeah, Sasha reunites with the girls near the end of the season, and I love how Anne is written as very untrusting of her, but Marcy is a lot more excited to see her because she wasn't there for the events of reunion. Oh, and also she's brain dead. The next few episodes show Sasha trying to win back the trust of Anne, which they eventually do in a fun Battle of the Bands episode. The song sucks, by the way. I don't know why it's so well regarded, but I like the instrumental version used in later songs in the soundtrack. So yeah, fantastic season. Let's highlight some of the best episodes in the show. Anne Hunter is great because Hallucination Sprig is hilarious, and it's also the episode we get the planter hunting dance, which we surprisingly see more of later on down the line, and any episode with this dance can't be a bad episode.
You really need to stop that.
Okay! A Caravan Named Desire is a great Hop Pop episode. I like any episode that focuses on Hop Pop anyway, but one that focuses on his passion for acting is great. Lots of good jokes in this one.
Thank you.
Toadcatcher is a great episode too, because we see Sasha and Grime on what they are up to since the events of season 1. The idea that Grime becomes a lazy neckbeard who binge watches shows all day is very representative of this show's audience. I mean, also Yunnan is introduced in this episode, but I don't actually like her one joke of saying the same thing over and over again.
I
and General Yunnan, scourge of the Sand Wars, defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, the youngest newt to ever achieve the rank of general in the great Newtonian army.
Okay.
Wax Museum is a homage to Gravity Falls, where Grunkle Stan as a toad is just a character in this universe, and he's just really evil. He also gets killed at the end, adding to the Planters' ever-growing list of casualties.
Calm down, everyone. It's just Wax.
Well, the important thing is we're all okay. Except for that curator. He's dead.
The Planters check in as a fun Sprig episode in a hotel setting, with how much of Amphibia has been set in more rural areas like a farm or a tower in the middle of nowhere. It's cool seeing something as modern as this rich person hotel as a contrast, which really gives you the subtle insight of how Andreas has been treating those outside of Newtopia. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Excuse me, are you winking at that Ferris wheel?
Yes, and I'm rich, so deal with it. Ha-ha!
Very good, sir.
They also have access to the Royal Credit Card.
Be safe with this now. Wars have been waged for less.
And make no use of it throughout the show. It's genuinely frustrating.
I'll have what he's having.
Lost in Newtopia is another really funny episode with Anne and Polly annoying as many of the locals as possible.
You guys still want to check out that cheese museum?
Hopping Mall is not only a fun episode, but the ending where Sprig talks about never knowing his mum never fails to tug on the heartstrings. I always get emotional at this one.
You know, I've always wondered, can you miss someone you never actually knew? That's silly. I mean, of course you can't.
The sleepover to end all sleepovers is another really good episode. I really like Marcy bouncing off the main cast this season, and she's used at her best here.
Are they aliens? Ghosts?
Does it matter? Let's get out of here, Scoob!
Roger that! Wait, what did you just call me?
After the Rain is another one I'd rate highly for the emotional factor. Hop Hop revealing to Anne why he hid the Calamity Box away from her is truly heartbreaking.
And wait, let me at least explain. What I did wasn't right, but I didn't do it to trick you. Sprig and Polly's parents.
Hop Hop and Anne are my two favourite characters, and watching them fight makes for good drama. You can understand why Hop Hop did what he did, but also why Anne would be mad at his decision. The first temple is my favourite of the temple episodes. It's the only one to run the full 22 minutes instead of the usual 11 minutes standard.
I don't like this game.
And it's easy to see why. It's stuffed with lots of challenges, great character moments, and building upon previous lore. I really like that Anne and Hop Hop still aren't on the best terms after finishing their fight in After the Rain.
Man, this is a long hallway.
It's realistic. All because you make up with someone doesn't mean things return to normal straight away. I'm still mad at Monotiller for spoiling the ending of Sopranos where Tony turns to the camera and says, "I guess we're the Sopranos," and everyone claps like an Evangelion. And that was about 14 years ago.
Okay, you done?
But like any show, we got some duds in here too. Quarreller's Pass is more just annoying than anything else, and it feels like one of the few episodes this season I found the moral lesson kind of dumb.
Call me? Oh, there's only one phone!
I don't get it.
Ivy on the Run is kind of mid because I don't care for the obvious Karate Kid parallel they're doing here.
Totally wasn't watching. Nothing creepy going on here.
And Bessie and Michelangelo might just be the most nothing episode in the series.
Wish I was a cute little snail.
I will say that the episode quality tends to be generally lower when they are set back in Wartwood, but I only have big issues with those 3 episodes I named. In general, the humour in this show is great, but there's 2 jokes I noticed they like to reuse a lot. The zoom-ins to a more detailed drawing of the characters' faces, usually accompanied by the characters saying something dramatic.
I'm the Time Lord now.
I love it! Now let's end this thing!
I've been eaten 8 times, Sprig. 8 times.
I sorta look forward to it now.
And the joke where the characters will say something like, "Oh, this won't take long," and then it'll show that it's been like 3 hours later or something. These are funny jokes, but they pop up a little too frequently for me to laugh at every one of them.
Man, this is a long line.
Maybe it'll go quickly.
Kill me.
My only other issue with this season is how little Sasha is in it. With how much Marcy is in this season, it's disappointed that before reuniting with Anne, she's only in 2 episodes before that. I would have enjoyed seeing more of what Grime and Sasha were up to in exchange for some of the episodes in Wartwood that felt like they were retreading the style of season 1 episodes. But my biggest gripe with Sasha this season is I feel like while her gaining the trust of Anne and the gang was done well with the episodes they had, I feel like she should have been introduced earlier and told a more slower story with her having to work really hard to earn Anne's trust. Again, there are episodes you could have cut for more Sasha development, so I don't get why they couldn't have done that. But we can't talk about great episodes without talking about the season finale, True Colours. Now, the previous episodes leading up to this did a decent job of making Sasha and Grime seem trustworthy to the gang. Now, if you're going to say they shouldn't trust Grime because he looks evil, well, that's your problem. You have to change. You can't say that stuff. Not anymore, alright? It's not acceptable to say that anymore. Okay, maybe 20 years ago it would have been acceptable. I would have been there with you, but we can't say that. Not anymore, right? You have to change. Stop it. Anyway, True Colours is really something special. It's one of the greatest season finales of a show I've ever seen, and it's my favourite episode of Amphibia. It brings all the plot points of season 2 to a head when Sasha and Grime reveal their super obvious plan to take over the kingdom, managing to overthrow it for all of 5 minutes. This is great. Anne finally decides that she's fed up with Sasha and that she'll never change, which plants doubt on if Sasha is really doing the right thing. The Toad invasion of Newtopia is great, and it's only the first half of the episode. The second half is when the episode is launched into legendary status. King Andreas is a character we know isn't exactly the kind king he claims to be. The show has made it very obvious, maybe a little too obvious, as you can probably tell he's evil from his very first scene.
The pieces are starting to fall into place. It's time for the game to begin.
So we're all expecting him to do something in this episode.
Get ready, everybody. He's about to do something stupid.
But we weren't ready for how he was going to change the show going forward. Sasha and Grime find out that King Andreas knows more than he's letting on, and that maybe overthrowing the kingdom is better than letting Andreas remain in charge, but it's too late. Sasha is a lost cause to Anne at this point, and she's not having it. With King Andreas back in charge with the Calamity Box in hand, all is revealed. King Andreas doesn't want to help the girls return home, he wants to conquer Earth, using the Calamity Box to create a portal to their world. It's also revealed that he always was a conqueror, it was in his blood and always has been. He was lying to Marcy and Anne the whole time, and it's so great. King Andreas is such a great villain because he's got lots of charisma even after revealing he's been a bad guy all this time. His personality wasn't a facade, he's still quite a goofy character, he's also just a colonizer as well, so his personality hasn't been reset for the purposes of the twist. He was a great character before the reveal, and an even greater character after the fact, becoming even more interesting next season, while still remaining very entertaining. But the true twist in this episode was the reveal that it was Marcy who sent them to Amphibia to begin with. Marcy didn't want to move away from her friends, so she actively told Sasha about the box, having Anne steal it, knowing very well that I had the power to transport them to Amphibia to begin with. This is a devastating moment. The scene where Marcy breaks down and tries to reason with her friends while they just aren't having it is so good, and really shows how well written the dynamic of these characters is, to where they trusted Marcy the most, thinking she wasn't capable of anything this bad. And it's not like the act was done with malice, it's very in Marcy's character to want to stay with her friends forever. She wasn't trying to hurt anyone, and she isn't justified in what she did, but you can understand why she would want to do something like this, as selfish as it is. Good did come from it.
Look at how much you both grown. Look at Sprig. I gave you this. I gave you everything.
Anne and Sasha have both grown a lot as the result of it and made new friends, making it even more morally grey. But with that out in the open, King Andreas has no further use for our heroes and attempts to kill them, leading to the best moment in the episode, where he attempts to kill Sprig by dropping him out a window.
That's the thing about friends, isn't it? The more you love them, the more it hurts when they go. Allow me to demonstrate.
Leading to Anne unlocking her true power and going Calamity Anne. Yes, it's really silly that there's a Super Saiyan transformation in the Silly Frog show, but it's also one of the most raw things I've seen in a kid's cartoon. When she starts beating the shit out of Andreas with the most stunning animation the show has to offer in the series, alongside the best song, the most beautiful song in the soundtrack. The scene is perfect, this episode is perfect, I love this so much. It's emotional and heart-pumping at the same time, and everyone that worked on this show should be proud of this episode.
Give him back. Give him back.
Quick! Into the portal, everyone! Hurry!
The box!
Marcy, hurry! I just need to...
Oh, also Marcy gets stabbed through the chest. Don't know how Disney allowed that.
Now look what you've made me do.
I'm sorry for everything.
Marcy!
It's pretty rad, but loses its effect after the first time since you know where the story is going in the next season with her. The last shot is the characters being transported to the most dangerous place of all, LA, leaving the season on a huge cliffhanger. Season 2 is the accumulation of every great idea you could have had going off Season 1. It's an improvement in every way from the characters to the story to the humour. This is how you take your show to the next level, and let's hope they can keep the momentum going and that Season 3 can be even better than this one going forward.
Hold on, back up. You're telling us there's a whole world of talking frogs called Amphibiland?
It's actually called Amphibia.
Season 3 is not better than Season 2 because they couldn't keep the momentum going.
Alright, if we're doing this, we gotta be extra careful. No one out there can know you exist. You're all on lockdown.
You heard the man. You're all on lockdown. Got it?
I like it more than Season 1 for sure. It has some of the best episodes in the series, but also some of the worst. Season 3 of all the seasons is the easiest one to split into a 3A and a 3B, with episodes in Season 3A mostly being set in LA, and the episodes in Season 3B focusing on returning to Amphibia to take the fight to Andreas. Okay, first things first, I have to talk about the intro. Way to try to fix something that wasn't broken. Now, I know they had to update the intro because they're on Earth now, but they did a horrible job with it. I like the visuals enough, but the first 2 seasons' intros were animated by Studio Yotta. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. And you can see how much better animated it is than the intro of Season 3, which doesn't look any better than the animation that's actually used in the show, and that's because Serum Animation, who animated the intro, also do animate the main series, which explains the huge downgrade in quality. The animation in the main show isn't bad, it's just TV quality, and usually most shows put their highest budgets into the intros to give it a bit of visual flair. You can see it in the Owl House as well. The intro has like generally a much better animation style than the show itself. But I can't talk about the intro without bringing up how they butchered the song. It sounds like someone vaguely heard of the song and then started playing it out of their ass. Also, they still use the Earth visuals even when they return to Amphibia, which is just like, why? You couldn't have made another subpar animated intro? Anyway, with that out of the way, let's return to the positives. I really like Season 3A. Like, a lot. It's one of my personal highlights of the show, which might shock you considering the online consensus deems this as possibly the worst run of episodes in the series. This opinion comes from a few factors. Firstly, people didn't like how casual the characters were after the events of True Colours. Not only did it seem like the cast weren't in a rush to get back, but also Anne didn't seem to care too much that one of her best friends could be dead.
She's alive, Hop Pop. She's just gotta be.
In fact, she dismisses the idea entirely for some reason that I don't seem to understand. Like, the last thing she saw was Marcy falling down after being stabbed through the chest.
Hey, go easy on your old man.
Whoa, sorry. I've been so focused on opening the portal and getting back to Amphibia, I haven't thought about what I'll be leaving on this side.
So yeah, I do understand these complaints, it just doesn't affect my enjoyment of the LA run of the show because the comedy is probably at its best in the first half of the season.
Ain't that cute?
So So if the show is continuing to be funny, what's the problem? Amphibia always was more of a comedy before anything else. It will return to those plot points of Andreas trying to take over and what happened to Sasha. You just have to wait a bit. I understand as well this must have been painful to watch week to week, expecting the next big plot point only to find an episode where Hot Pop learns to avoid paying taxes, but it wasn't an issue for me because I binged the season after it was done and appreciated it for what it was. And what it is a really good reversal of season 1 of the show, this time with the planters as the fish out of water.
He was just a mild-mannered frog boy who never made a fuss.
Liar!
There's a lot of good jokes here about the planters not knowing how the human world works and having to pretend to be human is a great setup for a bunch of episodes. There's also a bunch of likeable characters introduced in this part of the show, such as Mr. and Mrs. Boonchoi, who are awesome and really wholesome parents, a great addition to the main cast this season. They even get a chance to shine in the penultimate episode. Another character worth highlighting is Mr. X, who is an FBI agent trying to expose the planters for the slimy frogs they are. The only real plot stuff that happens in the first half of the season is the characters land in LA, Sasha and Grime finally become true good guys and decide to protect Wartwood, the Core, which is a collection of the greatest minds of all time, including Andreas's father, decide to use Marcy as a host, and then the main cast go back to Amphibia. Yeah, not as much lore and world building in this season compared to the last one, but I'll give it a pass because these run of episodes are great. Once the characters return to Amphibia though, this is where I find the show really starts to become a bit of a slog. I mean, we're this close to the end of the show and there's still these one-off episodes that don't really matter because the characters they recruit for the war really don't play into the final fight. By comparison, the human characters played a big part in Escape to Amphibia. I just wish there was more plot stuff going on in the second half of the show, because when it does show up, like in The Core and the King, it's truly great stuff and contains some of the show's best writing. Also, while it's understandable why Amphibia would look like this, I just hate the colours used in the latter half of the season. It reminds me of the Pitch pilot with its use of dull green and yellows. They could have made this look a lot more interesting. So yeah, not much to talk about this season, so before we talk about the final 2 episodes, let's go over what episodes this season were real standouts. The New Normal is the best of any of the season premieres and includes a great introduction to the Boonchois as well as the Planters' reaction to the human world. I also really love Andreas in this one. He gets some good lines and we get to see him send one of his robots in the human world, which will be the main antagonist for the next few episodes.
Eliminate potato chip. Okay, forget the chips. Kill the girl. Get the book.
Thai feud is hilarious. I love the big dumb chase sequence at the end, and Sprig just wanting to get accepted as a member of the family is really cute.
She's not about to yell at a guest, Sprig. She only yells at family.
How, Jan? Thanks for rubbing it in.
Adventures in Cat Sing is another hilarious episode. I love the Cousin Stanley joke, and overall Hot Pop is really good in this one.
Thankfully, he eventually left peacefully on his own. Just kidding, we threw him out the window.
I also like the ending where Mr. Boonchoi says that he will never see the Planters as freeloaders because they took in Anne.
You 3 took my daughter into your home when she needed it most. You kept her fed and safe for 5 months just out of the kindness of your heart. You will never owe us anything. Ever.
It's a heartwarming ending. Via the Museum is great because the characters wanting to rob a place is inherently just funny to me. Oh, and Hot Pop is pro-revolution. And Sturminator is really exciting. It's basically one big action sequence to cap off the mini-arc where Andreas's robot frog is the main threat.
Wait, why is this one dressed like a doctor?
A mom can dream, can't she?
Olivia and Yunnan also progresses the plot, has some really creepy imagery, and introduces us to the Core as the show's main antagonist.
You're afraid of this little cutie?
I had a bad experience, okay?
Froggy Little Christmas is a great Christmas episode and contains my favourite joke of the entire series.
At this rate, it'll take a miracle to find Anne.
Woo! I'm Anne Boonchoi! I'm Anne Boonchoi! She's Anne Boonchoi!
Andreas is also just great again in this one. He really is one of the most standout characters in the entire show.
It's the stupid controller's fault.
Escape to Amphibia is another really exciting episode that caps off the LA section of the show really well, with the characters all coming together to fight the government and return home.
Are you guys okay?
Mostly. My dignity is admittedly in shambles.
The Root of Evil is a great return to the spores from season 1 and is one of the few recruitment episodes in the second half that really stand out to me.
I know we've had some bad history. You tried to enslave my hometown and I violently murdered you that one time.
Yes, you did.
The Core and the King is a really cool episode. We finally get Andreas' backstory where we find out his frog friend Leaf saw a vision of the Calamity Box, eventually leading to Amphibia's destruction. This is written off as her trying to take advantage of Andreas by his father, and we learn that Andreas not only has daddy issues, but also is self-conscious with his own image as a ruler. Leaf eventually decides to take the Calamity Box and hide it from Andreas, which he sees as a personal betrayal, making his choice to never want to trust friends again. This is a phenomenal episode, with the only downside being that the episode really should have been the full 22 minutes. Like, it only has enough time to barely tell the story it wants to, and with how many episodes in the second half I didn't enjoy, they could have easily cut one out and made this one a full 22-minute special. Oh well. This episode also has my favourite episode ending of any of the episodes in the show.
Who's ready to finally start invading Earth?
Ready? After 1,000 years, I've thought of nothing else.
Why, son, I think I'm almost proud of you.
Let's talk about the Core and Darcy for a second here.
A collection of Amphibia's greatest minds, preserved for all eternity.
Let me go!
I wish I could, but my lord craves a host. And it wanted the best, the smartest, the only one who could beat me at Flipward. The time has finally come for the Core to lead us to our destiny. But what destiny, you ask? Well, I suppose I should just let it speak for itself.
Why, hello there.
I love them a lot in concept, and I think the limited screen time they get is really entertaining, but they just don't get enough screen time, despite being the main antagonist of the entire series. Again, I like them, they're like a B tier, maybe C tier villain, but they aren't as great as Andreas, who is a more explored character and goes through a more interesting arc. Plus, Andreas probably has the most badass scene in the show.
Well, don't stop on my account.
Oof. I have some chills down my spine. Anyone else feel that? Oh yeah, turn the heating up, would you? But this has all been leading to the best 2 episodes of the season, All In and The Hardest Thing. So much great stuff happens in these final 2 episodes, which combined is over an hour of material, used to wrap up the season in the best way it could have. The action in these episodes are great. We get to see the Planter family take on the birds that killed Sprig and Polly's parents.
Let's rumble, girlfriend.
Sasha and Grime fight the Core, and Grime ends up losing an arm, but it's Anne who gets the best, most heart-pumping part in the episode.
You rang?
Where she gets motivated by her friends and family to keep fighting Andreas, leading to her fighting Andreas to fucking K-pop of all things. The entire series was building to all these great moments. Even Marcy goes through some shit when she has to fight the Core that's trying to make her join them by tempting her, before turning on her and making her feel bad about how she betrayed her friends. All of this is amazing, and it's worth the wait from the more slow-paced nature of this season.
Do your worst.
Sure.
The finale of the entire show is one of my favourite show endings ever. We finally get to see the Calamity forms for all the girls, and they fight the Core, who is trying to crash the moon onto the planet, which, if the Majora's Mask reference wasn't great enough, we get a Shah's counterattack reference with all these robots holding back the moon. Andreas finally gets the conclusion of his story arc when he turns on the Core after finding out that his friends never stopped caring for him after all this time. I was strangely okay with redeeming this person that caused so many horrible acts, because he's a product of what his family made him into that sent him on this path anyway, and while I'd personally stick him in a cell for the rest of his life, him losing all his power and being a gardener is good enough for me. Look, you forgave Sasuke when he did bad shit, we can forgive Andreas too, okay? My only real issue with the ending is the fake out Anne death. Like, she actually dies, but the cat deity decides to bring her back to life, which was certainly a choice. Look, at this point, just have her nearly die but pull through, or not have the scene at all. The fake out leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I've waited thousands of years to retire. What 78 years more? Wait, are you saying that in 78 years I'm gonna...
But this is just a nitpick. The ending of the show is beautiful, the girls have to return to the human world forever, and you really feel the show coming to an end, because it's not just the girls saying goodbye, we are too. All these characters we grew to love along the way, you realise how much you'll truly miss them by the end. When Sprig hugged Anne one last time, I cried pretty damn hard. I love these characters and this show. I've seen the show twice at this point and I still do miss it. It goes to show how much love was put into the series for it to have that effect on the viewer. And with that final scene showing how the characters have grown, the show comes to a beautiful end. I absolutely love this ending. Honestly, I don't think many shows have a great ending. I mean, I am one of those people that think both Evangelion and The Sopranos have perfect endings, so I might not be the best judge for this, but Amphibia has one of the best series endings I've seen in a long time. I think shows like Avatar and Gravity Falls are better shows, and overall their finales make for better episodes, I think. But in terms of the actual ending itself, I just feel like Amphibia wraps it up all in a much more satisfying way. Amphibia really is a special show. It's funny, charming, has likeable characters, and a lot of genuinely emotional moments. It's not always a consistent show, but when it's good, it's really good, and currently sits as my second favourite Disney cartoon show, behind Gravity Falls, because while Gargoyles is amazing, I feel like the World Tour arc really held Season 2 back, and less spoken about Season 3 the better. Amphibia may not be the greatest cartoon ever made, but it has one of the biggest hearts to ever be given to a TV show.
So you're telling me there's no listen to the land references?